Dear Thai, dear Sangha, I had the blessing of receiving teachings from you for such a long time, since the 1980s, and I thank you deeply.
30 years, 34 years.
Yes, that's right. The family retreats and in Honolulu.
You are my continuation body.
I work as a psychotherapist, and even though I have had such wonderful teachings, I found when I was diagnosed with cancer 12 years ago that it was extremely hard, and I learned a new way about suffering in my body and mind. And because I had a practice, I really did very well through the process. But now I work with people with cancer, and I have created a mindfulness retreat for people with cancer. And I know well that the fear is so different when the fear of death is not abstract, it's in your own body. And the fear of uncertainty, where people live constantly from test to test. And I would love any teachings that you might give us on how to work with these deep fears. And anything else you might say that I would like to pass on to this community. Thank you.
In this retreat, we have been meditating on this topic. We look into the notion of death and fear. And we know that when you get the right view, you'll be free from fear and despair. And that is why if we have the right view, not as a theory, but as a real experience, and then it can help people a lot. When you sit close to a person who is dying, if you have that insight of no birth and no death, if you have that peace, and then you can be very helpful. And the person who is dying will not suffer, and he or she can die peacefully. That is in the case of Anathapindika, the lay practitioner. Anathapindika was a lay practitioner. He was a businessman. And when he traveled to the kingdom of Rajagraha, the city of Rajagraha, he met with the Buddha for the first time. And he invited Buddha to come to his country, to his city, Sravasti. And he offered him a park, a lovely park, to be served as a practice center. And the day Anathapindika was dying, the Venerable Shariputra came together with his younger brother in the Dharma, Ananda, and that's were recommended by the Buddha. And then during that visit, Shariputra tried to help Anathapindika to touch the nature of no birth and no death in him, very skillfully. And the story is written down in a sutra called Teaching Given to the Dying Person. And Shariputra is the big brother, the big Dharma brother of all of us. He was very skillful. Ananda was sitting close to him, and the first thing they asked, dear friend, how do you feel in your body? Is the pain in your body decreasing or still increasing? And that is the question of a doctor, right? And Anathapindika said, dear venerables, it does not seem that the pain in my body is decreasing. It's increasing all the time. I suffer very much. I feel it very painful. And responding to that, Sariputra said, in that case, let us meditate on the three jewels, the mindfulness of the three jewels. And this kind of meditation that has the object Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And they offer a guided meditation exercise. The two monks were supporting the dying person to practice recollection on the Buddha, recollection on the Dhamma, recollection in the Sangha. And we can learn from their experiences. Because Sariputra was a very intelligent monk. He knew that Anathapindika had taken a great deal of pleasure serving the Buddha and the Sangha. He was a businessman. He had a very lovely heart. He helped so many poor, destitute people in the city of Shravasti. And that is why they love him so much, and they gave him that beautiful name, Anathapindika, which is the one who cares for the helpless people. His real name is Sudatta. And he had offered the Buddha a beautiful park to be used as a practice center, where people come and listen to the Dhamma talks and practice recitation of the mindfulness trainings and Dhamma sharings. And he encouraged his children to come with him to practice. And every time he thinks of the Buddha, the Sangha, every time he did something to support the Buddha and Sangha, he got a lot of happiness. Serving the Buddha and the Sangha, learning the Dhamma brought him a lot of happiness. So there are many seeds of happiness planted already in his consciousness. And the insight of Sariputra is that if we focus our attention on the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and water the seed of happiness already in him, and then feeling of joy and happiness will be water and manifest, and they will create a balance between the joy and the pain, and the man will suffer less. I think all psychotherapists have to learn from our big Dhamma brother Sariputra. And after 5-8 minutes of the practice, recollection of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, Anathapindika was able to smile. So, sitting close to the deathbed of someone, you have to recognize the seed of happiness in him or her. You have to inquire in advance. And you will say something to water the seeds of happiness in him or her. And that water the seeds of happiness and create the feeling of joy and happiness that will reestablish the balance, and the woman will suffer less. And then Shariputra continue with the meditation on the six sense organs, which is the eyes, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind. Six sense objects like the form, sound, smell, touch, and so on. And the six consciousness, and to help Anathapindika to see that these things are formations. They have come from nowhere. When conditions are sufficient, they manifest like that. They have come nowhere and they will go nowhere. They will go nowhere. No coming, no going. That is the insight that we get when we practice like that. They try to focus his attention on the fact that there are four elements in our body: water, air, heat, soil, inside and outside. And to help the dying person see that a human being is made of these elements, and when conditions are sufficient, they manifest, and when conditions are no longer sufficient, they stop that manifestation and manifest otherwise. And there is no birth and no death, no going and no coming. And at the end of, toward the end of the meditation, they saw the Anathapindika crying. And Ananda did not understand the meaning of these tears. He was very concerned. He said, "Dear friend, why do you cry? You did not succeed in the meditation, in the guided meditation." "No, Venerable Ananda, I did it very well. I succeed fully in my guided meditation." "Or you are regretting something? You still regret something?" "No, Venerable Ananda, I don't regret anything." "And then why do you cry then?" And Anathapindika said to Ananda, "Dear Venerable Ananda, I cry because I am so moved. I have served the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha more than 30 years. But I have never received such a wonderful teaching and practice that can liberate me like today. The teaching of no birth and no death. I am free now. I am not afraid of dying. I know the nature of no coming, no going. I can see my continuation." Ananda said, "Dear friend, you don't know, but that teaching we monastics receive almost every day." Anathapindika said, "Dear Venerable Ananda, of course there are lay people who are so busy, who have no time to receive this kind of teaching and practice. But there are those of us who are not too busy and who are ready to receive that wonderful teaching and put into the practice. So please go back to the Buddha, our teacher, and tell him that there are lay people who can receive and put into practice this kind of deep teaching." And then he spoke for the sake, in the name of the lay community. And Ananda said, "Don't worry, my friend. after this I will go back right away to the Lord and tell him about your request. And then after that, Anathapindika died peacefully with a smile on his lips. So the sutra, the teaching given to the dying person is available in the Plum Village Chanting book. We have to study, we have to practice, and we can be very helpful in making the people who die suffer less, who are dying slowly to suffer less. But we, even if we do not have cancer, our cancer has been healed, we have to practice. We have to continue to practice. Because you don't practice, it can come back. It can drain you quickly. So it's very important that you keep the practice alive. And you always have a Sangha behind you to support you in practice. There is a friend in Montreal, Canada. His doctor gave him only 3 months to live. But after he met the Sangha and attended one retreat, he took the practice into his heart and practice. And he lived more than 10 years. But because after that his wife did something, have some kind of relationship that make him suffer, and he could not continue his practice. And that is why the situation degenerated very quickly and he died. I think we need to be in touch with Sangha always. And when something like that happens, we have to renew our practice, to lean on the Sangha. Otherwise, we will suffer like that friend in Canada. And this teaching is not only for psychotherapists. This teaching is for all of us, monastics and lay practitioners alike.